I guess this is the year of remakes that are actually technically readaptations. Hey everybody, welcome to Mainly Movies. Today I'm going to be talking about the 2021 neo-noir thriller, Nightmare Alley. If you're new here, please consider subscribing for a variety of movie-related content like reviews, rank lists, and trailer reactions. All my reviews include a breakdown of the pros and cons, my rating, and some tailored film recommendations, so be sure to watch through to the end of this video for all of that extra content. Nightmare Alley stars Bradley Cooper, Cate Blanchett, and Rooney Mara, and was directed by Guillermo del Toro. Based on William Lindsay Gresham's 1946 novel of the same name, it tells the story of ambitious carny Stan Carlisle, played by Bradley Cooper, as he goes to dangerous lengths to reach and maintain fame. As a big fan of Guillermo del Toro's movies, I always highly anticipate each new film of his. His last effort, The Shape of Water, immediately jumped up to being my second favorite of his, so I was curious and excited to see what his follow-up would be like. And after a 4-year wait, Del Toro's back with a remake? Alright, so it's technically a readaptation. Just like the 1947 version of this film, it's based on William Lindsay Gresham's 1946 novel of the same name. And just like some of the other remake/readaptations we've seen this year, this film is a bit of a blend. It's certainly based on the book, but Del Toro also draws upon the 1947 film a good deal too, while also adding in a few elements that weren't present in either of the source materials. Even when this film was first announced, it seemed like a bit of an odd choice for Guillermo del Toro. He usually writes his own films, though it's not unheard of for him to adapt existing material. Mimic was adapted from a short story, and both Hellboy and Blade 2 have obvious comic book origins. But even when he adapts, del Toro tends to choose a very specific type of story. Horror is his go-to genre, but perhaps even more importantly, his films always have some sort of fantasy or fairy tale element to them, often significantly contrasting with the real-world horror at the heart of the story. And so, Nightmare Alley feels like an outlier within del Toro's filmography. An outlier, but one that's unmistakably his. From a story perspective, this doesn't feel like a del Toro film, apart from the darkness and cruelness of many of the characters. But from a technical standpoint, this is as typical as it gets for him. The cinematography is wonderful, but what truly stands out here is the production design. As is frequently the case for his films, this is a period piece, and it has that high contrast, borderline stylized look to it that we've come to expect from his films over the years. It's reality, but heightened. The costumes, the elaborate sets and backgrounds, they all work to pull you in and immerse you in not only the time period, but also the general moodiness. And in spite of being more of a noir than anything else, Nightmare Alley certainly isn't lacking in other del Toro typicalities, most notably his penchant for sudden, shocking violence and gore. Let's just say he ups the ante a bit from the 1947 version. Also typical for Guillermo del Toro is the presence of many of his frequent collaborators, both on and off screen. Dan Lauston is behind the camera for the 4th time, and many of the actors are back for their second, third, or in the case of Ron Perlman, 6th collaboration. Doug Jones is notably absent, but as I alluded to before, this film is very much lacking in the typical del Toro fantasy elements, so Jones's usual type of character is also missing as a result. Both the new and familiar faces here give good performances, with Bradley Cooper and Cate Blanchett standing out the most in their roles. I'm not sure if you could really draw a direct comparison between Cooper and the original Stan Carlisle, Tyrone Power, but Cooper is more than able to fill the charmingly deceitful shoes. As far as the story goes, it was good, but not great. I'll admit that this is one of those situations where I'm not really sure of how I would have felt about the plot had I gone into it completely blind. If I didn't know it was a Guillermo del Toro film, or perhaps more importantly, if I hadn't already seen the original 1947 film. Now, I should clarify that I don't love the original movie, or have any sort of long-standing history with it, so I've got nothing inherently against this new adaptation. I just had foreknowledge of the story, and a naturally comparative mind. As I mentioned before, this film is an interesting blend of novel, original film, and new elements. The same basic story is there, but new backstory has been added. Certain characters have been expanded upon, while others have been reduced. The foreshadowing is too heavy handed, so the audience is led through each important turning point, making for a frustratingly predictable story. And although the story retains its twists and turns, the changes made certainly lessen the thematic impact. Alright, let's talk about the pros and cons. Pro number one is the production design. This is certainly not an unexpected pro for a Guillermo del Toro film, but that doesn't make it any less impressive. Although much of the rest of the film feels a little atypical, the production design comfortingly transports us into that stylized, heightened reality past we know and love from del Toro. The costumes are great, but it's really the sets that stand out here. A carnival setting is the perfect playground for del Toro, and we're treated to jarred oddities, intriguing sideshows, and elaborately designed sets like the Devilish Funhouse. The carnival is the showcase here, but even the second half of the film retains that classic del Toro aesthetic, swapping tents for hotel rooms and the bustling midway for snowy streets. The second pro has got to be the performances. Bradley Cooper and Cate Blanchett are the biggest standouts here, but really everybody fits their roles. Rooney Mara as the gullible electrical sideshow performer, Ron Perlman as the overprotective strongman, Willem Dafoe as the unscrupulous carnival proprietor. Although some of the characters vary a bit from their 1947 equivalents, the dialogue and interactions feel much more natural here, which makes it easier to latch onto the characters, even the ones that have almost no redeeming qualities. On the con side, the biggest issue is that this film is too obvious. Absolutely everything was blatantly foreshadowed. Characters verbalized the main thematic messages, images were lingered on far too long, everything gets explained. I'm not sure if this would have bothered me quite as much if I hadn't seen the original film, but knowing how effective and impactful that version was, in part thanks to its lack of overt foreshadowing, made me all the more aware of just how much the audience's hand was held throughout this film, and how much less thematically affecting it was as a result. Con number two is a bit of a carryover from the first film, and by extension, the novel, and is how much the story drags, especially in the second half. It's never bad, but it does get bogged down by the abundance of plotting that occurs in the story. This film is also quite long, a full 40 minutes longer than the 1947 version, which only accentuates the dragginess. Before I give you my rating and recommendations, I want to remind you that if you're interested in buying Nightmare Alley or any of the other films I mentioned today, I do have affiliate links for all of them in the description below. I get a small commission from anything you buy using one of my links, so I'd really appreciate it if you'd use them if you're in the market for any of these movies. I'm gonna give Nightmare Alley 3.5 out of 5 paws. In spite of its excessive length and overt foreshadowing, this is a solid readaptation of an intriguing noir story, with the added benefit of Guillermo del Toro's typical stylistic flair. I would recommend Nightmare Alley to people interested in dark thrillers or neo-noirs. Fans of the 1947 film will enjoy this one, though maybe not quite as much due to its dampened thematic impact. I think Guillermo del Toro fans will be even more split on this one. This film has many of his expected technical and thematic elements, but it's a good deal slower than most of his films, lacking the fantastical flourish of nearly all of his other movies. If you liked Nightmare Alley, I've got to recommend the 1947 Nightmare Alley. This is an obvious suggestion, though apparently not as obvious as I originally thought, because it seems like many people are unaware of this original film's existence. The basic story is the same, but there are quite a few plot and character changes, including a much more thematically impactful ending. If you like Guillermo del Toro's style and want another one of his films with standout production design, you should check out The Shape of Water. The story is much closer to his typical dark fantasy fare, but it's another period piece set in a visually heightened reality. And if you're in the mood for another twisty noir based on a book, you might want to watch Detour. Released only a few years before the original Nightmare Alley, it features some more deceitful characters who get caught up in a series of accidents and incidents. Alright, a couple questions for you guys. Number 1, have you seen Nightmare Alley? If so, what'd you think of it? And number 2, do you prefer Guillermo del Toro's adaptations or his original stories? Be sure to leave your answers in the comments below so we can get a discussion going. Alright, so if you got some enjoyment, insight, or information out of this review, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit that like button. And if you haven't done so already, please hit subscribe while you're at it to see more videos like this. Till next time, this has been Alyssa with Mainly Movies, the way life should be.